Okay, so hello, this is Chris ZANDA, and today I'm with Anthony Toupin, who has been generous enough to give us his time today. Anthony is a finance student at CEFAM, and he has had some finance internship experiences with the former bank Martin Morel, which was acquired by Rothschild. And before I start asking you a couple questions, Anthony, I just wanted to say that over the last few years, there's a couple of qualities that I've really admired in you. And one is your ambition, because you can
Thank
see
you.
you're a very ambitious person, and also your perseverance. So I think those are really two strong qualities that you should be really proud of. And hopefully this will carry through with the rest of our CFAM students. Um, Okay,
And
so to
and,
get
uh,
started,
and yeah. First of all, thank you for receiving me through this Zoom conversation and talk, I guess. So yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you. As I had you as my first accounting professor when I arrived at CFAM in 2014. So it's coming back to the roots, I guess. So it's a pleasure to be with you today.
okay, I appreciate it. So to get started, I was just going to ask you, what are you doing now, and how did you get there?
Okay. So currently, I'm doing my how to say that it's kind of a graduate. I'm not directly in a profession like in a fixed contract or undetermined contract because of the circumstances. I was doing my final study internship in January through June, and this has been reconducted in some sort of internship as well, but it's more like a graduate semi fixed term contract. So that's for the legal aspect of it. And for the practical aspect, I'm currently an investment analyst and an assistant portfolio manager. So you might ask in what kind of asset class, and I can answer that, of course.
Great.
I'm, I'm assisting 11 portfolio managers for so Edmond Rothschild, as you said, or maybe you didn't say it, but that's the current company. And they are covering mostly every asset class. So that's a huge scope. Every publicly traded asset class. We're not doing like private equity, venture capital. It's only publicly traded debt, commodities, equities. So all that you can find on public markets. So that's the basic scope of the investments that we're doing here. And I'm specifically doing analysis on the equities side. So I'm dedicated to the equities analysis, research, as a buy-side analyst, if you can say, for the team and for the 11 portfolio managers I'm assisting today.
Okay, fabulous. Now, that's a huge position that you're in right now.
It is.
How did you get there? Because you did just walk out of CFAM and they hired you for that.
Absolutely. So, as you said during the beginning of this meeting, my first internship actually was at Martin Morel in private banking in Lyon, next to Place des Terreaux, actually. And as you said, they got bought by Rothschild and Co., which is not the current Rothschild I'm in. It's another branch. You can say it's the cousins. That's how we call them here. So I started there. I did 6 months internship, and after that, I was supposed to go to the US to Siena College, and I didn't because I thought I speak with some friends of mine who were doing other schools than CFAM, and usually what I've retained in finance is that you need to do a 1 year off cycle if you want to break in, if you want to, let's say in front office positions, etc. You need to do at least 2 internships before doing your final year of study. And so that's what I tried to do. And so I tried to get to Rothschild and Co. office in Paris. So by like recommendation letters and the kind. But I didn't get through. I got the interview in Paris, but I got completely destroyed there by some manager who wasn't very kind. I can say now. And after that, the position that I was applying to in Edmond Rothschild, because I did both of them, was in middle office. So asset management middle office, which was fund valuation and trade support, so for portfolio managers. And funny story, when I got off the Rothschild and Co. interview, I got the call from Edmond Rothschild telling me that I was taken for the position. And I actually interviewed for them the same morning. So that was kind of crazy experience, and hopefully it turned well in the end. And so to continue on the path to now, I did 6 months in middle office for Edmond Rothschild Asset Management, which went absolutely well. After that, I was once again supposed to go to the US, so that's already 1 year of cycle, if we can say. And during my middle office internship, I was also trying to get to work for portfolio managers, because when you get into middle office, you quickly turn around and you start to be, how do you say that? You start to be a little, not, it's not a question of implication, but you start to have, free time. You start to understand that there's nothing more to do because it's operational work. So it's very fun. It's very instructive when you start for 2 months, 3 months, but after that, it's getting the same and the same round and again. So I was trying to do what I always loved, which is equity analysis. And so a big part of our activity at Edmond Rothschild is equities. We are known for that as well as for debt. And so I was trying to get to work for a portfolio manager there, and I did. So during my first internship in middle office, I was working 50% for the middle office and 50% for a portfolio manager who is still today in the company and is managing a 600 million euros fund on global technology, which is called Edmond Rothschild Big Data, which is kind of, it was one of the first funds to launch in France on US and global tech equities, which was very, very, very instructive and one of my best experience so far. After that, so I did those 6 months as a double position. And after that...
And were you expected to do that double position, or was that you who persevered and requested that double?
No, that was all me. I mean, that was all of my intention. One of my manager in middle office put me in relation with the portfolio manager, so that's how it went. And after that, I had still to interview with the portfolio manager, so it went well. But it was all of my proper intention to not only do middle office work, but also try to get a scrap at the a shot at portfolio management assistance, if you can say. And so that's what happened. And so to finish the whole courses, I finished my 6 months internship in middle office. So that was in 2018. And after that, I was again supposed to go to Siena College. As a matter of fact, I had a little visa trouble. I was late. That's shame on me for that. And I was blocked. So I couldn't go to the US until January 19, sorry. And so what I did was ask my manager at the middle office position and at the front office position if they can get me another internship or a fixed term contract or something like that. And miraculously, I think it was maybe 5 days before the end of my internship, they went to me and they said, okay, we can do something. We have a deal for you. It's an official position, 50% middle office and 50% front office. And so obviously I said yes. It was a fixed term contract, better paid than an internship. So that was obviously a very, 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 how do you say that? Good position just before going to the States, especially in the industry.
And that's particularly fortunate because you probably would have gone over to the US, then you would have been sent back home after the coronavirus. And so that's kind of a crazy story. But that's great. I mean, you have persevered and pushed to get additional positions. And it's interesting. I think sometimes students are maybe a little bit fearful of doing more than a 6-month internship. And now you can show that it can really pay off to do a longer internship. Let's see. So why did you want to work for Rothschild?
So to be honest with you, I think I always had this fascination not only for Rothschild but for banks and asset manager overall. And Rothschild, as it comes with the story and the background of the bank, the family that still is in charge of the bank, I was fascinated with the story. It started in 1700 with some German financier who launched a whole dynasty of bankers and etc. And I found this very, very fascinating. And I thought, well, that's kind of the top the top that you can reach in like the industry for like working as an analyst or working as a portfolio manager, even though they don't manage as much as Amundi or BlackRock or those large asset managers.
Right.
But I think like the company culture was pleasant. I was well appealed to that. I wanted to try my luck with it. So I went on, and fortunately, Martin Morel was bought by Rothschild, which was honestly a huge help in all this process, because I think that without Martin Morel as a first internship, I wouldn't have been able to get to Rothschild after that.
Okay. And do you think because you did like back office, middle office, has that helped you as an employee and you personally with your job?
Absolutely, and it still helps me today, actually. Yes, of course. Doing back office first at Martin Morel was, how you say that, it was kind of a field experience, because you were there like doing like photocopies and all the lowest, not the lowest work you can do, but like the lowest intellectual tasks that you can imagine in a bank. So that was obviously formatting, because like the basics of it. And after that, jumping to middle office in asset management, because you also have, as you know, middle office in bank and in other structures, was one of the pivot points of this whole process. And I learned a lot, and I still use some tools that I used back in middle office now in front office to analyze portfolio. But what's interesting about it is that now that I'm in the front office point of view, I can see how all those tools that were useful at the time, but you didn't have like the end use of it. You just have like the first step of it, like analyzing portfolio performance, evaluating funds, etc. And now you are versus the client, and the client asks for performance. So when it's not good, etc., you still have the use of the tools that you learned before. So that's very helpful.
Okay. So can you tell me any particularly like hard skills or soft skills that were useful at CEFAM, or maybe that you should have learned before leaving CEFAM to help you in the field?
Yeah, absolutely. Starting with hard skills, because specifically in finance, as you know, it comes to basically hard skills and how to work on Excel, how to work on PowerPoint, how to do valuations, analysis, economics. Finance in general is very hard skill, I would say in firsthand. So
Okay.
at CFAM, yeah, I've learned a lot about that, starting with you at the time in accounting, with T accounts, especially at the beginning. And after that, in accounting 2 and finance 1, finance 2, finance 3, which were absolutely helpful in a matter of analysis capacity and other thematics like that. And for the soft skill at CFAM, especially one class that I can remember well was public speaking, obviously. Because when you start as a French student going into CFAM, so maybe you all already speak well English, or maybe not. I was between these two. And doing public speaking for me, who kind of qualify as an introvert, was very helpful. Because after that, it was more helpful to be able to speak freely in English. And that's what I've most appreciated continuing soft skill at CFAM.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Could you tell me a little bit about the interview processes that you've had throughout your internships and your current position?
Yep, absolutely. So unfortunately, you're not going to be satisfied with the answer, because it's not the the classical interview process that we can hear in the industry. But Martin Morel was not easy, but it was okay, because it was back office, so you didn't need to be able to prove that you were able to evaluate like banks and very complex businesses. After that, when I went to Edmond Rothschild, so that was my own application. I wasn't recommended, because it's a competitive branch. They're not like friends, if we can say. That was one of the most difficult, maybe, interview that I had since then, which was honestly 30 minutes with like the HR person. So that was mostly fit questions. They were mostly analyzing you. The usual odd questions that you can get. Very tricky question, by the way, like how to fill a 737 Boeing and those kind of questions. It wasn't that especially, but like they make you think all stuff in order to just analyze how you get through point A to point B. That's all. Even though you answer completely around it, that's still okay. So that was one of the toughest. And after that followed 1 hour interview with the managers. I didn't have 2 or 3 rounds, which was very very cool at the time, if you can say. And the manager interview was kind of cool because they already seen that I was in Rothschild and Co, ex Martin Morel, and so they appreciated, and they were saying that when you come into middle office, you're expected to learn on the job because nobody can, form you to use the tools that are very precise in middle office. So obviously, it's just mostly fit question and background as well. And they even liked the CEFAM profile because I wasn't graduating from Siena at the time. So that was a good surprise.
So they went an extra step, and normally they would require you to have graduated from Siena, but they made an exception for you? Is that?
So in middle office, no. In middle office, no. I think they recruit. They have a high turnover. There's a number of interns there. Always, there's always 2 or 3 interns at the same time for 6 months, and usually they don't pick top schools or they don't have specifically defined schools to get there. So that's kind of the easy way in, if I can say.
Okay.
After that, you still need to prove yourself during the interview with the managers. But if you are, passionate with finance, if you have hard skills that are good enough for them, I think they will trust you as they did with me. And so that was the cool part of the interview. And to complete your question, the interview I had for the current position, which is investment analyst, so front office 100%, was not difficult because the portfolio manager I was working with during my 50-50 middle office position actually recommended me to come back after the US in this team. So I was just having like a fun interview with my current portfolio manager when I was in the US. I can actually remember having trouble finding a signal to do the interview. And they just asked me basically what I was doing with my former PM, analysis that I've done. And of course, they had the chance to talk with the concerned PM before calling me. So they were all green lights for them. That was all good already before calling me. So it was an easy way just after middle office. So I think the hardest part was to get into middle office, and especially after that, trying and working for portfolio managers while doing middle office.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
All righty. So what's your next step? What's next for you?
Yeah, very good question. Actually, so before COVID-19 and everything that came after that, my current portfolio managers, so superior, wanted to take me as an analyst directly, so with a full-time job. And COVID showed up, and obviously banks were heavily affected by that. You can still hear today a massive restructuring plan. They're not hiring anymore. I think in major banks, they're freezing salaries. It's very tough during this time for banks, especially, and asset manager also, because market the market performance this year has not been very very impressive, especially in Europe. I'm not talking about the US, which have been wonderful, but that's another subject. So it's tough for European banks, especially. So what happened was that I finished my end of study internship in June, and after that I had a 2 months vacation. And during this vacation, I was waiting for an answer to either get back here as a full-time job, or negotiate something else and try to either do that as another internship or get somewhere else. I had some luck there because finally, what I was telling you in the beginning of this discussion was that they actually proposed me mixed internship fixed term contract. So I'm here for now. It's supposed to end in March next year. So that's still 6 months. But after that, it's still on the table to stay here. And absolutely love to stay here, of course, but I'm still looking, you know, elsewhere in this difficult time. So we'll see what happens, but I think it's in maybe a good direction now.
Okay. So probably personally for you, you're going to have to think about whether you want to continue your studies or not. Is that the question or?
No, for now, honestly, no, because I graduated from Siena in December, and that's actually a good question that I asked myself, because when you look at other profiles, especially in finance and in asset management, you very often see students at our age who just graduated from undergraduate school, sorry, and are willing to do MSc or specialized masters in Parisian schools most of the time, and that's a good point, I would say. That's a very good direction. Even some CEFAM students did that after Siena. They went to EM Lyon or some similar schools. And obviously, that's a very good choice. I would think that today is like maybe the best moment to do it because of the employment market who is down. And so you don't have many options instead of studying more. So I was thinking about it, but after that, since I'm in a good position now, and I'm hoping, hopefully, that it will turn into a full-time job, which is actually getting greener and greener as the time passes. I'm not looking into doing a MSc, and I honestly think that in finance, after an undergraduate degree, if you especially want to work in investment analysis, investment positions, what is a good completion to CEFAM and Siena or any other American university we have in partnership is the CFA. The CFA is maybe one of the best option, actually. It's maybe better than do that, best than do that than go to a French school. So that's what I'm doing as a study continuation.
Okay, so that's exactly what I was wondering is if you were, so you're studying for the first level of the CFA?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Um, I guess one other thing that I'm asking for the students, do you read a lot of business news?
Absolutely, that's that's an essential of the job. And when I was back in CEFAM in the first years, you know, we had the chance to see some alumni coming over and telling us how the work went and how the finance industry was. And I remember especially one of them saying to us that he was reading all the time. He was reading like morning, the evening, during lunch break, etc. And I was, you know, I was telling myself, maybe that's not true. You know, maybe you don't need to spend that much time on reading news and other business articles. And actually, yes, it's absolutely essential for the job. More you get into years of experience, more you need to know at T0 what's happening everywhere. So that's why they're like my portfolio managers. They're always listening to, you know, updates on markets, updates on a specific company, on a specific sector, because clients, when they come, when you have to either update them on their portfolio performance or some prospects, so you have to, you know, convince them to invest with us. You have to prove that you are better than the competition, because at the end of the day, what's making the difference is the selling product, the product that you're selling, and this is performance in asset management. This is perspective. This is also the bank itself. It's kind of a package, if we can say, and reading every day builds upon this package and permits to go further, I would say. So that's an absolute yes.
Okay. I mean, it's true. Your customers are investing in you and your advice, and they're counting you to know your stuff.
Yeah, and just to complete that that sentence, usually when you cover both institutional investor and private investors, so private banking clients, institutional investor, they already are know-how, they are at the same level as you, if I can say, in terms of financial studies, etc., because that's their job. They're just on the other side of the table. And private clients, that's a very interesting side of the business, because usually you end up with people who have lots of money and they are not very familiar with financial markets and investments. So you need to, you know, not only impress, not only say true, I mean, say actual facts and actual, actual elements of financial analysis, etc. But you need to show that you know what you're dealing with. So reading is absolutely necessary.
Okay, fabulous. Do you have any advice for CFAM students?
Yes. So I'm addressing to mostly finance students because I think that's where the audience is gonna be interested for this. But if I can say something, is to try to always persevere and always try to go forward and further. Always try to like you said before, do more than you are actually asked to, especially when you're in internship, because you want to be remarked by your managers, by other departments in your company, etc. And the second advice I would say is try to do an off-cycle year if you can. Of course, that's not a mandatory thing to do, but doing 2 internship in finance, especially if you can see after that an evolution. So like you do back office, middle office, that's absolutely a plus for later on. Yes.
Okay. Okay. No, I know that you have received glowing remarks from Rothschild, and that has really, your perseverance, your push has really allowed you to continue and to advance in your position as you have. So I don't have any other questions for you. Do you have any other questions? Or any comments you want to say?
Honestly, yeah. I just wanted to know if everyone is doing well first in your students, and how's doing the COVID breakdown and the shutdown, sorry, environment for your classes, and how our students feeling about it, maybe.
Okay. So in terms of the COVID impact, I don't know if you've heard that we're half time at school and half time on Microsoft Teams.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's actually, everyone's getting used to that rhythm. And students now have to take test online. Okay. So that's a different way of testing. A lot of us professors are now using multiple choice MCQ kind of questions. So that can be more difficult for the students, I think. But I think if you can answer those kind of questions, it shows you have a deeper knowledge a lot of times of a question. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult because you can't see the practical side of it as well. So that's a challenge that we have. I guess that's really about it.
I can imagine that.
I think I'm going to stop the video.
Yeah.
So hang on for a second. Let's see if I can do that.